Lewis Hamilton has touched down in Italy, and it's his first very important week at Ferrari. Whether you like the guy or not, this is history being made. The most decorated Formula One driver of all time is making his way to the most historic team in Formula One. And the name surrounded with this much dominance and brilliance going to this team will always be a big and monumental moment for our lovely sport. It's a very important week, and there's a lot to go over, from simulator work to him driving the cars, which cars, and what's this program really going to be about? What's the significance of it? So let's talk about everything that you really need to know for this week and what to expect from Lewis Hamilton's first week at the Ferrari team. Right before getting started into it, wanted to thank you guys for support on the videos. Always amazing, and thank you for all the comments. Let's keep it going. We're close to 70K. Let's get that number very quickly. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. It would mean the world. Let's get started with this Lewis Hamilton Ferrari video. So as I said, Lewis Hamilton has hit down now on the 20th of January, but what is he first working on since he's gotten here to Italy? Well, as we know, Lewis is not a big fan of the simulator, and it's not really been something that he's used very much in his career. As of lately, from the 2022 era of technical regulations, he has been on that simulator a bit more to help out Mercedes, especially last year in 24. We saw him working at the Mercedes factory on the simulator very often to actually get that car in a good window, as his driving style has played a big factor into why these regulations have been very weird for him. But that's the first thing that he's doing when he gets there, and this will be very important simulator work due to a couple of things. He's going to be working with his engineers, and specifically the guy that's worked with Carlos Sainz and for Sebastian Vettel. Working with Ricky will be big for him because he's been with Bono for most of his career, and this is a guy that has to get used to Lewis and how he talks over the radio, how they communicate with each other to get the best type of relationship while being at Ferrari. In the simulator is the best way to do this to start before getting into the real cars, as they can learn certain phrases that they can use with each other and the type of communication that needs to be made. This is actually a very important step for Lewis and for really any driver, because you see the relationship that Verstappen and GP have and how significant that plays into a role of Formula One weekends when it comes to setting up the car and how the race goes based off of strategy. Leclerc has also gotten into a good rhythm with the current engineer that he has. The previous one wasn't really working the best with them, so they've changed it up, and Leclerc has definitely molded into a better driver as well as a better communicator with his engineer. This relationship works much better than the previous one. Going along with this, in the simulator, he's going to be on a different wheel. It's not like the Mercedes wheel, and there are current rumors circulating around that Ferrari is going to give him a specific wheel that works to what he saw at Mercedes. I think this is a bit of BS, if you ask me. There's nothing confirmed that this is going to happen, and my reasoning being, I don't really see the significance in this. He's going to be in the simulator, and he will figure out that wheel in time, especially with this test. For them to be completely changing their wheel for one driver, I don't really see how that's going to work, and whether that favoritism is going to work for Lewis. I don't think that's something that he would like either. He'll adjust to the wheel. It's not the biggest issue in the world. But after the simulator work, these are now the important days, and these are when both drivers will be in the cars on the 21st and the 22nd. For the 21st, it's going to be Charles. He's going to be driving it. There will be no special treatment for Lewis like some people are kind of signifying, and Lewis will be the guy driving on the 22nd, and this will be a very historic moment. And as much as we love Leclerc, seeing Lewis in red driving a car will be something else. Police have already been informed of his arrival to Fiorano, the circuit, and the amount of people that are going to be on the streets will be absolutely insane. And this is something that I appreciate so much with Italy, the actual culture over there when it comes to motorsports. I wish that was something that would be replicated here in America, maybe in a very long period of time when we have some American drivers. Very cool. And it's going to be a huge moment. So many people on the streets, so many people cheering just for him being in a test. Just seeing him in that red, potentially, it might even just be a white costume and not really a Ferrari suit. But definitely a moment for history, and this will be his first day in the car.
Who is it that breaks your fall, puts out the flames, and saves your children? Lewis Hamilton.
They love me.
Both Leclerc and Lewis will be driving the SF23 and the F175, both on different days. I don't think Lewis is going to be driving both of them on the 22nd. There is also potential of him driving on the 23rd as well in two different cars to use as much of that mileage as they can before the season starts to get Lewis accompanied with this car and really the style over there at Ferrari. The significance of this test is actually very huge, as this is going to be the first time Lewis sits in a car that's not a Mercedes and really a car that's been adapted to his style for a very long period of time, even though that hasn't really been the case from 22 to 24. Both the SF23 and F175 are completely different cars, so seeing how Lewis adjusts to them will be very important, as both cars are very front-oriented when it comes to the cockpit. That was really put in for Leclerc. Carlos did adapt this. He struggled a lot with the SF23 as the oversteer on that car was pretty significant. But as the 2022 season was coming to an end, that's when Carlos got a bit more accompanied with it. And I wouldn't really say that Lewis's style is both Carlos or Charles. It's very much his own. There are more similarities to that of Charles Leclerc. I made a whole video discussing his driving style in all these cars. You should check it out, as it's very good at covering how he's going to adapt to these cars and still very relevant. So I think the F175 might be a little better for him than the SF23, as that car had a bit more understeer and that was the more adaptable style. But it's really seeing the type of feedback he's going to give in the car, what the team can work on throughout the 25 and really the 26 season to adapt more to him, and just an evaluation of what is Lewis's style, as the guy is an extremely late breaker. But so is Leclerc. Both of them have that similarity. Just one of them likes a bit more oversteer, while Lewis is more in the natural side. He's gotten used to these Mercedes cars that have been very, very good and not really having much understeer or oversteer. Now, that has not been the case from 22 to 24, but previously, those cars were beasts and he could really set it up to however he wanted to. Toto Wolff has actually gone on record recently and talked about that Lewis's style does not really work in these ground effect cars, as his late braking style cooks the tires much quicker in qualifying. And while this isn't a problem in the race where it's most important, qualifying will matter a lot against a guy like Charles, who really gets the most out of a car very quickly at it. I do think Toto has a good point about this not really suiting him, but I also think the Mercedes was struggling a lot in the rear part of the car, where Lewis really needs that adjustment in this ground effect era. Typically, that wasn't a problem with him. He was able to adjust to a car that had a bit of more loose rear end. If you actually look at his McLaren days, and even the beginning of those Mercedes days, he did like a bit of oversteer, and there are videos of him saying, give me an oversteery car, I don't really want any understeer. But as of lately, because he loves to brake so hard into those corners, he does need a bit of a stronger rear end. This SF24 was pretty strong both on the front and the rear, and everything being talked about from the new Project 677 points in the direction of that this should suit Lewis's style, and makes me believe they're trying to make a car that's very well-rounded both in the front and the rear, and that you can adjust the setup whenever you'd like to. That's going to be a very important reference for them in the 2025 season, as there were tracks that they struggled on. They want it to be a complete wipe on the season where they can be good on every single track, whether that's the slow speed corners or the high speed corners. High speed has been the problem for them in these regulations. I do believe this week will be very important for them evaluating what type of driver Lewis is when you first put him in a car. And the history surrounding this moment is just going to be huge. I'm so excited to see this guy in red. As I said, even if you're not a fan, it's pretty cool to see this guy driving a Ferrari car. I mean, you can't hate on that. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on in the comments below. What do you guys think of this first week? We're not going to see too much footage, at least that's not what I think. I hope that there's some stream of this and we see some videos. We'll definitely get some pictures. But this is just to evaluate him and to get him more comfortable with the team in Italy, Ferrari. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, subscribe. It would mean the world. And peace.